The pleasure to give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Yusuf Marani, Minister Delegate of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation of the Kingdom of Morocco.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like first to express our deep appreciation to Pakistan for convening a special debate under its presidency of the Security Council on the important subject of a comprehensive approach to counterterrorism. The Kingdom of Morocco shares your commitment to strengthen the international fight against terrorism and welcomes the concept paper prepared by the Pakistani delegation for our debate. I would like also to thank the Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, for his insightful briefing and commend his commitment to reinforce the UN leadership in combating terrorism and in mobilizing resources and expertise to strengthen the capacity of member states. Over the past few years, the international community has steadily built stronger consensus, efficient strategies, and robust architecture seeking to better respond to terrorism. These major efforts have disrupted terrorist structure, foiled a number of terrorist plots, and weakened the central command of major terrorist groups. However, the trends and methods of international terrorism continue to evolve, and terrorist groups are constantly adapting their modus operandi. Terrorist groups have developed a more regional agenda with an even stronger nexus existing between terrorists and transnational organized crime networks and a more intensive use of information and communication technology. Terrorism is a highly complex and multidimensional phenomenon, but we must address through renewed consensus and effective cooperation. To be effective, our collective response to terrorism should rely on a comprehensive approach and dedicated strategies at the national, regional, and international levels. The United Nations, as the appropriate and legitimate multilateral framework, has developed a robust counter-terrorism architecture. Over the past decade, the Security Council has shown remarkable determination in countering terrorism through a significant number of resolutions and continues to strengthen the work of its counterterrorism committees. As chair of the Counterterrorism Committee, Morocco is committed to working with all member states to strengthen the action taken by the CTC to consolidate a strategic, transparent approach and further strengthen facilitation and coordination of the provision of technical assistance seeking to enhance member state capacities to counter terrorism. We have today the tools, we have the instruments, and I believe that the United Nations Global Counterterrorism Strategy, adopted by the General Assembly in 2006, represents the most comprehensive and effective decision taken by the international community to eliminate this dangerous threat and improve the UN action. We also commend the UN Counterterrorism Implementation Task Force for its consistent efforts to coordinate international support. Madam President, despite all the positive developments, terrorism remains a prominent threat to international peace and security. The United Nations must intensify its efforts, adapt its responses to the new patterns of terrorism, and diversify its partnership with regional and sub-regional organizations. In this context, we reiterate, as other delegations did this morning, our readiness to pursue discussions on all proposals seeking to further enhance coherence, coordination, and effectiveness of the UN counterterrorism efforts, including the proposal of the Secretary General of the UN to appoint a UN counterterrorism coordinator. Likewise, the United Nations should explore better ways to interact with other multilateral initiatives actively involved in the global fight against terrorism. In this regard, allow me to recall the important work conducted by the Global Initiative to Combat Nuclear Terrorism, seeking to improve national and international capacities for prevention, detection, and response to a nuclear terrorist event, and namely the last meeting which was held in Rabat. We would also like to highlight the early and important achievement of the Global Forum Against Terrorism, in particular the Rabat Memorandum adopted last year on good practices for effective counter-terrorism practice in the criminal justice sector. Madam President, Morocco has established a comprehensive and multidimensional counter-terrorism approach, rooted in its early commitment to contribute actively to the preservation of peace and security at all levels. This strategy is guided by Morocco's attachment to the values of tolerance, human rights, fundamental freedoms, and rule of law. It also converges with the UN strategy and complies with the Charter, as well as with other relevant UN resolutions and international legal instruments to which Morocco is party. This proactive Moroccan approach was translated into firm and preventive law enforcement measures with a dedicated counterterrorism justice system, as well as national initiatives aiming to address the various social, economic, and cultural factors involved. Our effective approach is rooted in a series of essential building blocks, in particular, the total rejection by all Moroccan citizens of terrorism and violence as means to achieve political objectives. Our firm commitment to pursue irreversible democratic reforms with human development as a shared and important priority provides today Morocco with the best safeguard against the spread of violent extremism. Madam President, Morocco has devoted equal attention and commitment to prevent the spread of terrorism and extremism at the regional level. For years, Morocco has persistently warned the international community about the deteriorating situation in the Sahel region, which continues to face complex, multidimensional, and interconnected challenges. The Sahel has emerged today as the center stage of alarming activities involving terrorism and extremist groups that threaten the stability and the security of the state of the Sahel, West Africa, the Maghreb, and beyond the Maghreb. A year ago, the state of Mali saw the northern part of its territory slide progressively into the hands of armed extremists and terrorist groups. 2/3 of its territory now lies in the hands of terrorist elements, whose confidence is ever increasing, given the slow response of the international community to dislodge them. This state of mind has been reflected by their actions last week when they broke the ongoing de facto 6-month ceasefire, therefore defying the decisions of the Security Council. In the wake of these alarming developments, Morocco supports the recent call of the government of Mali for outside assistance to combat these terrorist elements and the response that is now being provided by bilateral partners. At the regional level, let me reiterate our call for a sustainable framework for dialogue, cooperation, and solidarity, one that encompasses all states of the Sahel and the Maghreb in order to address in a holistic and effective manner the critical situation in the Sahel region. We need more joint responsibility, inclusive cooperation, and constructive partnership to face these challenges. In conclusion, Madam President, terrorism emanates from a complex set of interrelated political, economic, and social factors. In combating it, we should not lose sight of the need to address the underlying causes by promoting political reforms and human development, eliminating social injustice, and resolving regional conflicts. To provide sustainable solution, terrorism must be addressed in a holistic manner that does not rely solely on military and law enforcement measures, but also insist on the human dimension of the cooperation. We thereby firmly believe that the UN should remain the central framework to effectively take forward our fight against terrorism. We are equally convinced that national counterterrorism strategies should include systematic and efficient regional and sub-regional cooperation. In keeping with its values and principles, Morocco intends to remain an active and fully committed partner of the United Nations and the entire international community in the global fight against the scourge of terrorism. Our commitment is not better expressed than by the word of His Majesty the King Mohammed VI, and I quote, "As regards the fight against terrorism, Morocco will continue to implement a comprehensive multidimensional strategy in which security, democratic reform, and development efforts support and complement one another. Under that strategy, cultural creativity and enlightened thinking will also be encouraged, together with a firm commitment to the rule of law and to equality before the law and the nation's legal system." Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mrs. Chairman.
I thank His Excellency Mr. Amrani for his statement. I have now the